Is it live streaming right now or what? Joe? Joe, can you hear me?
No, Max, I can't. You might have to enable your mic.
Can anybody else hear me? David, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I think it's Joe's thing that's messed up.
I
David,
can hear everybody.
I can't hear you
Hi,
either. Hey, Peter.
Howdy.
Hi.
Peter, we're having an issue with the sound, it looks like.
I can hear everybody.
Yeah, I can hear everybody. Joe, I think it's your audio.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I can hear you quite nicely.
Here.
Well, if we can hear Joe, then it can't be Joe's audio. It's got to be something on your end, Max.
No, but you can hear me. His speakers probably aren't working.
But I can hear him.
Oh, okay. That looks like it was a technical issue on my side. All right.
Are we live streaming, Joe? Is it live streaming?
We are currently live streaming. So we are broadcasting on YouTube, and I see that there are 2 people watching, and I think those 2 people are me, since I'm checking to make sure that the stream is working, which it is.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I can hear you quite nicely.
Okay, good.
Well, if we can hear Joe, then it can't be Joe's audio. It's got to be something on your end, Max.
No, but you can hear me. His speakers probably aren't working.
Hey, Max, David, I can hear you guys now.
Okay.
That looks like it was a technical issue on my
I
side.
said that like 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, we have a very strange echo. It's delayed by 10 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, I just fixed that. That was the live stream that was coming through was piggybacking on the broadcast. So we should be okay there now. Okay. So I think we'll wait for maybe a couple more minutes to see if anyone else shows up, and then we'll go ahead and get started. It's good to see you, Peter. How's it going?
Where's the iPhone? Hi. Who are you, iPhone? iPhone.
Hey, Max, would you can you enable control for the view to me, if that's possible. Perfect, thanks.
I kind of want to figure out who iPhone is to make sure that sometimes there's issues if people join and you don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
iPhone, can you identify yourself?
Must be the ghost of Steve Jobs.
Okay.
This is Engelman on iPhone.
Hey Ted, how's it going?
Oh, hey.
Oh, there we go. Shit, I didn't know how to press the right buttons. Thanks
Yeah.
for course.
Hi, Ted. Good to see you.
Yeah. Oh, there you are. It's good to see you too. Having breakfast, I guess.
You bet, man. I'm eating my breakfast muffin here.
Good to see you.
Okay. Well, I think this might be a good time to start. It's good to see everyone here. And thanks for coming to the town hall meeting discussing the immediate future of Ghost Ranch and what we might be looking at as far as our next conference. You know, we had to cancel the spring conference, and that was kind of a major bummer. And you know, we needed to figure out how we were going to move forward. I've been in contact with Ghost Ranch, and the situation that they have right now is that they're allowing groups of 5 people. So that becomes kind of a major issue for us because we're going to have more than 5 people. Now, of course, with everything that's happening, we don't know what the situation is going to be like in September. We don't know what's going to be happening in October. With the pandemic, we really have no clue about what the immediate future is going to be like. So we have the option, of course, of if we wanted to do in person, which, and I'll be completely honest, is not my first choice at this point. Mostly because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and I don't think we're going to be in a better spot at that time. But if we were to choose to, it's going to be a little bit more based on what's happening at that time in New Mexico, what their governor is going to say. It's all very fluid right now. So having this discussion right now, yeah.
Has the governor made a statement yet? I heard like I said, they were going to make one the other day, whether out of staters can come into New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, has they made the statement yet?
You know, I don't know if the governor has. I know on the High Plain or the Ghost Ranch website, they have it pretty well clear that it's for New Mexico residents only at this time.
Okay.
So even if we wanted to, and when I talked to Stephanie, she said that we could certainly book a date to come down there, but that's completely in flux as to whether or not that's going to be a viable, possibility. So, I mean, we're looking at some questions here as to whether or not this is even going to be possible, which is why we're doing the town hall to kind of discuss what the possibilities are. So yeah, that's part of what we want to do. We want to see how this is going to work, and then go from there. So one of the possibilities is that that we engage in a virtual venue, right? And how is that going to look? And that's kind of like what we're doing right now. So a quick question: is everyone that's watching right now, are they all seeing Ted as a person that's up, or is it bouncing around to different people? Can anyone?
I see all four of you in like equally sized rectangles.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything's fine.
Like
Yeah, I
the
can see
Brady
everyone,
Bunch.
including Ted.
Okay.
I have the
Perfect.
Brady Bunch view.
Okay. Excellent.
There's
So.
there's a green box around the person who's talking at the moment. That's the only, but everybody else is visual.
Perfect. Okay, I want to make sure that everyone's actually seeing everything, because this is one of the issues that we're going to be looking at. Is that, do we think that we could even hold a conference through Zoom? And is that something that people are going to be willing to put up with?
Well, I would recommend you all take a look at the Crow Canyon webinars. I've been attending those ever since the pandemic started, and there's been once or twice where there's been some, the presentations were a little bit hard to read, or the audio was kind of checking in and out. But I would say 95% of the time they've been fantastic.
Yeah.
So if you're not already on the Crow Canyon listserv, and so you're getting notifications, and I've been putting them up on the Facebook page as they've come in, because I think our members would benefit from them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Go check it out, if you haven't done it, and it seems to run really, really smoothly, really fluidly. Technology gets a little bit, grumpy here and there, but otherwise they've been really entertaining and very valuable. I mean, I've been treating them like regular PD conferences, so I don't know. Anybody else check them out?
Only question I would have is, for of us here, I have an iPhone 11, so it's a little bit bigger than the iPhone 6 was that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So I have four of us. So I see three handsome devils and one idiot, me. And I was wondering, if we have 20, 30 people, my little cell phone, they're going to be like little fingertip images around there for all the people maybe that show up. And
let me explain what it looks like, Ted. It doesn't.
Yeah, I was wondering, how does that work?
It doesn't look like what we're looking at here.
Okay.
I mean, there have been hundreds of attendees, but all they do is they set it up so that all of the attendees are muted, all of the attendees are blocked. There's no visual other than the presenter, so they get the full screen. There is a chat, so you can do a Q&A. So they basically set it up where you can post a question, and sometimes they'll stop the presentation and address that question, and other times they'll do it at the very end if it's not pressing as the presenter goes on. Nobody else has a visual or audio, so it's
okay. Thanks.
Very clean, very simple. I would definitely recommend going to their website and seeing when the next one is, signing up. They're all free, so you can't go wrong. And it's all focused on the Four Corners area, so it's very close to where we're doing a lot of our research themes anyway, because they're right down the road from U Mountain. The U Mountain Ute Reservation, they're down by Cortez.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, give them a look if you haven't checked it out yet.
That helps.
These are big time professors that are they're bringing in to do these presentations. The quality's quite good.
It just shows my ignorance, and I haven't done this very much, so that's
kind
of why I had this dumb question.
These are my first ones too, and they've been very enjoyable. You can check in and check out and get up. They can't see you. They can't hear you. So you can, if you get through, you get a little bored with it. You get up, go get a drink of water, come back, and see if you want to stay. And if you leave, nobody hears you leave. You just ghost in and ghost out. So I would say for all of us that are looking at this, check it out, and
we'll do.
There's I've had some experience.
Let me jump in there, Joe, if I might, for a second, following on Ted and David. With Rotary, we have a variation of what Ted and David are asking about and talking about. With Rotary, we've had up to 40 or 50 people, and I'm sure we wouldn't have more than 40 or 50 people for Ghost Ranch. We'd love to, but we realistically won't. And with Rotary, it's slightly different. And again, I'm not an expert on this either, but you can see all of the participants by scrolling across the top of the screen, somewhat like what we have now. On my screen, I see 4 people, and I can scroll with the blue button across, and if there's 5 more people, I'll see them as I scroll across the top of the screen. So that could be good. You see 4 or 5 people at once, but you can quickly check on the others by scrolling. Second point, and I think, Joe, you might have mentioned this in our previous meeting with Howard, the idea of breakout rooms. In other words, you can literally, with the proper expertise, break into subgroups readily. So you got 20 participants with the push of the button by that expert. You divide into 5-person, 4 5-person groups for breakout discussion, and then after 10 or 15 minutes, you move back to the full group. I rather like that kind of a technique.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do and how it can be organized. David, you're right on track. I know they've been doing a fantastic job down at Crow Canyon. I've had experience recently with Science Riot where we're doing almost exactly this, where we're recording people on Zoom and then broadcasting it live for people to watch on YouTube. And we can also control who gets seen, so we could have a whole bunch of people, but we can focus. Basically, it's like focusing the camera on whoever that speaker is, and we can have a moderator that can allow us to sort of pick and choose what's going to be seen. We can also do that with to some extent doing like a panel discussion. So if we wanted to have just like 4 or 5 people, we can sort of shut everyone else's video down and then enable the speakers that we want to have on the panel discussion and then have them discuss. So it's becoming easier to kind of control how we see things and what we're going to be seeing. So yeah, it's definitely a good viable option to do
Sounds
it.
like there are a lot of options.
Yeah.
Joe, do you think that we need to have either hire or volunteer a real technical expert to coordinate this for it? I feel that we should have a technical expert. I'm not that technical.
This is something that I've been.
What's our group's thinking about?
For my 2 cents, I think honestly, if say like Michael Kilman and I were to handle it, I think we have the expertise to run both the Zoom meetings and do the broadcasting. Because once it all gets organized and we, just like today, we're broadcasting live on YouTube. So anyone that wanted to watch could. The big thing is having a moderator that could allow, say, like a host to sort of organize, which would be, say, like my job or someone else or Michael, where we can actually, run the conference and then have someone on the back end organizing and basically watching, if questions are coming up. That's the other great thing about YouTube. We could have YouTube participants that are watching that they might not, we might not want them into the normal conference, but they can still ask questions. They can still participate, and that's what that moderator would do. Would be like, oh, we've got a question coming in from so and so, and we can answer that question accordingly. So if we decided that maybe all we want are presenters in the actual meeting, we could take questions from the YouTube channel if we thought that we might have more than like 15 or 20 people actually showing up for the conference. And so those are different options.
I think between me and you, Joe, we can handle it no problem. So
yeah, I agree. I think between the two of us, the thing is that the technical part of it is actually pretty easy. I think the main struggle that we might actually find here is that oftentimes it all depends on the internet connection. If we have a presenter and they've got terrible internet, it's going to look and sound terrible. So I think, for each person that's going to participate in this, making sure that they have adequate access to like high-speed internet, something that's, that has a really good upload speed, would be important. So
that, and we could also ask presenters that perhaps, I mean, it's a possibility to either record or video or audio of their presentation and upload it somewhere for like a backup to Google Drive just in case or something. It's something we can certainly offer, especially for people if they think they're going to have spotty internet, like if they're out in the field somewhere. We can always say, hey, just as a backup, will you record this? And then we can show it in place if for some reason you can't get a good live stream going, and then you can at least participate in like the comments in the chat box or something and answer questions that way.
Yeah.
I'm curious, who's talking? I only see 4 people, but I heard another voice.
Oh, that's
Michael Kilman.
Yeah.
At least none of your lips are moving, so I wasn't sure if there's a ventriloquist or not.
I'm probably on the second screen.
How do I find it? How do I know how to do this?
Well, Michael is talking just with his mic. He doesn't have the video going. So that he's right now he's in audio only. So
I wasn't sure. Again, I'm just showing my ignorance. This is kind of weird. And I've got to prepare for a September 16 conference with Korea. And it's going to be 11 p.m. my time, and I don't know what the hell is going to be happening. So I'm learning from you guys right now.
Hey, it's a learning experience, and that's the important part. So that's great. But this is kind of what we're looking at as far as how an event like this is gonna sort of behave. And is this again, I think the question needs to be brought up: is this something that we think is okay to do? I think that do we want to talk about the quality of the conference, or is it just this is pandemic times and these are pandemic issues that we have to deal with, and we'll just move ahead and do it that way? Also, Michael, your idea of pre-recording presentations, I think, is a really good idea, especially for people that might not have access to really good quality, internet. And the great thing about doing pre-recording is that we can broadcast it live, and the person can be there and still answer those questions, right? They can still discuss like, oh, this is what's happening, and field those questions as that presentation goes forward. So, that's the great thing about both Zoom and YouTube, is that you've got, while you're doing a live feed, you can still communicate even, through text. So, yeah, I think it's a great venue to be able to do this kind of an event process. So,
Joe, let me jump in there again, if I might, please.
Mm-hmm.
I have to cut out at 10:30 because I'm babysitting my grandchildren.
Oh, okay.
That's as important as High Plains.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What?
So, besides, they're 4 years old and 2 years old. So believe me, I might even have to dive in there and change diapers.
Oh.
So, no, that'd be drastic.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
My couple 2 cents worth before I say goodbye to you nice folks is that I do support this video approach, this Zoom approach for Ghost Ranch. I strongly do. And it seems to me, with the expertise that Joe, that Michael, and others are offering, if we just shoot for a meeting that has good presenters, that follows the theme and the topic that we choose, and we address it as if it were going to be in person, but it won't be. In other words, seeking quality presenters, quality panels, quality interactions, advertised in advance, that would be in the winner's circle. And then the key will be, as the date approaches, advertising it as widely as we can, including to our friends in the Society for Applied Anthropology, which, we'd have the chance to link into hundreds of people there if we did the advertisement right. So those are a few of my points.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea, Peter. I think being able to access other folks and advertise to other societies and see if we can't bring people in, especially because, again, this is a virtual venue. The one issue that we also have to discuss is that normally for a conference, it's part of our revenue, gaining. We're people are paying to attend. It's kind of hard to do that with live streaming. With what you can do with YouTube, which is what we've done with Science Riot, is that you can actually go through a ticket sales company where people can pay a certain amount and they can show up and view the event. Because this is live streaming, we're not going to have to be paying for Ghost Ranch or anything like that. That cost could be significantly reduced. The other question is do we want to do it for free? And just let people show up and do it. What are those sort of options that we might want to consider? I know San Diego would probably disagree with that, but that's an option for us to consider.
What I
would
go along with.
You have the option of donating. They're all free, but they're always anything you can throw in would be nice.
Yeah.
I would just at least to start off seconding Peter's concept, making a decision to do it, and then what Joe was talking about sounds like that would be one of those issues that are following the decision to get something moving, to figure out the organizational process, and then again, if nobody's out any money in the first place, hardly any money, what are you looking for as far as revenue? What would that happen? And I thought maybe donations might be the sort of option, or a variety of things. And at least coming up with the concept out of this meeting before Peter's got to go to diaper duty, figuring out, making kind of a decision to say it seems like technically we could do it, or you can do that. And we can get some qualified people and make the thing happen and do the advertising. So it's a go. The options following that immediately would be like income, revenue, and maybe other issues that I'm not familiar with. But, out of this meeting right now, I just realized in 5 months, it's going to almost be Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I know.
So get your shopping done soon. You know what I mean?
So
at any rate, time is moving on, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
But at any rate, that's kind of what I wanted to do, was just support Peter on that, help make a decision if it's possible in this meeting, and then start thinking of those options like Joe and David are talking about, technically, income development, whatever that might be. So that's my 2 cents.
What I think is, I think we could possibly do like a subscription model-ish for this, like not so the actual live broadcast would be free, but then with certain donations you get like different tiers of things you get. So let's say you donate $10, you get a free copy of the High Plains Journal or something like that, and we can come up with like various different things that maybe people can get access to, like maybe me and you, Joe, could put together a podcast out of the conference, and then people get access to that podcast to listen to it non-live or something like that for additional donations. And so that way we're building like a following, and we have the opportunity to attract more people. And then if people want to go more with the society, they can like sign up for these additional perks by donating, $10, $15, $20 or something like that. I mean, maybe you have like a free copy of Science Riot or something, or maybe a couple of us in the society, like a tote, the tote bags or any of the swag or anything like that. You get some of that stuff. So that way we're kind of doing both. We're going to be raising money for the society, but also trying to build their access in the.
Yeah, I want
at
to
least with
support
this
that
conference.
idea, support the virtual conference, and want to wave goodbye to you good folks, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Have a good
Peter.
one.
See you later, Peter.
Peter.
Have a good one, Peter.
I think
Ciao.
that we I mean I don't think we really like if you want to live stream it to YouTube and see if we get more people that way, but I would say we want people to join on Zoom, not on YouTube, because otherwise it's going to be a presentation, not a interactive sort of thing. So I mean I would say maybe Zoom paid, YouTube free, and if people want to just like see it, or they just like see that it's live streaming and they're like, oh, what's this? They can watch it.
Mm-hmm.
That. But if you want to actually join the conference, you have to pay it to be on the Zoom conference, something like that.
To get in and to be able to present and do all that stuff, and yeah, and I could totally see that too, and I'd still be open to doing, say like people on YouTube posting questions and stuff like that we could answer as well. So that I think that's also something to consider, Max. I think that's a good thing to think about. And I think that maybe that's something that maybe we should go ahead and decide. I think everybody here is kind of in agreement. I know Peter is, and it sounds like the rest of us are Ted and Michael and myself, and I think you as well, Max. I think we're all kind of leaning towards doing virtual. I know that a lot of people would really like to go down to Ghost Ranch, and we've also talked about other hybrid models. So whether or not doing like a small gathering, so we could do like 5 or 6 people, or have presenters come in and do a presentation on Zoom. And do it at one particular location where there might be a small gathering of people. I know Melanie had proposed that as an option in, I think, the last meeting. So there are.
Proposing just one day, right?
Huh?
We're just proposing this would be a one-day thing, right? So
Well, I think that's something that could be just a one-day event, or depending on how many people submit, if it would be a multi-day event. I kind of feel like doing a one-day event might be better. That's a lot of stuff.
I agree.
Yeah. So maybe doing a one-day event, keeping the submissions, the presentations, to a smaller number than we might regularly. Could be advantageous to what we're doing. We might have to, if we're going to just do one day. So, because we don't want to be able to hold everyone every day there. So, if we're planning on doing like kind of like an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. event, how many people can we fit in there? So, and that also eliminates some of the other technical issues that, we might not need to schedule breaks, because people can get up and move around and do whatever they want. Or maybe we do schedule like a few breaks here and there, or a lunch break.
There will have to be breaks because getting people broke down, then the next person get up, set up, ready
Yeah.
to go. And
Yeah, you're right.
some breaks, and just people aren't gonna. I couldn't sit here in front of the computer for.
Yeah.
And that was the beauty of the Crow Canyon, in that they couldn't see me, they couldn't hear me. I could get up and get a cup of coffee or use the bathroom, and there was no interruptions. There was no chaos. But real quick, going back to this, what we would ask from people. There's no reason why. We already have the registration set up on the web page. So there's no reason why we couldn't just set up the registration as it already is on our web page and just ask people for $10. I don't think $10 is. I think everybody can afford $10 or maybe $20. I don't know. And just just leave it at that and be like, we're a nonprofit, like, this is work.
Mm-hmm.
We may not be
Consider,
down a ghost range, but it still works. So,
Right.
$10 is fair.
I was kind of wondering about the future. It may or may not apply to the folks who would come to this particular sort of function. It could be other people who aren't interested in this necessarily. But it seems like with folks out of work and the virus moving around and doing what it does, Colorado's not bad off necessarily, relatively speaking. But if folks are out of work, they're out of money, and evidently, from what I'm hearing, August, September, a lot of folks are going to be evicted.
Yeah.
Folks won't have a lot of money, and their lives are going to be maybe directed in different ways or different directions for survival, or just keeping their shit together, as opposed to paying X amount of dollars, whatever it could be. And I think 5, 10, something like that sounds reasonable to my way of thinking.
Yeah.
I don't have the problem. I'm lucky, and I feel almost embarrassed that I'm not like the rest of everybody else who's got to watch their P's and Q's, their money. But that just might be part of the issue, to consider what's going to happen in August, what's going to happen in September, potentially, and kind of look at the range of issues, how that might affect either income or who's going to attend, or how you want to do it, how long would you want to do it, 1 day, 2 days, whatever. So, some of those things might be, have maybe plan A, plan B, and maybe plan C, as the range of options for what to do. So anyway, that keeps on coming back to my mind is, what's going to happen to people, at least in America, because of what's going on. And that's like in the immediate, like 2 to 4 weeks to 6 weeks from now. So somebody said in the aircraft industry the other day, come October 1st, the airline industry is really going to be hurting. And so, people might have to be driving cars,
Right.
more than flying places. And, given that, some folks in our group are going to be older, like my group, my age group, we're not going to be wanting to be around a lot of other folks necessarily. So again, the virtual aspect is healthy for us, as opposed to you young whippersnappers.
Yeah.
So
we're not as young as as we once were either, too. So I do agree with you, Ted.
You are.
Yeah.
Right.
I
This
totally agree
bullshit
with you.
right now.
Especially and this is what we had to do with what we've had to do with Howard, in the last year and a half, is that we were able to do a virtual presentation by him, and then when we did Ghost Ranch last year, we ended up having him record his presentation and do it, and also the poetry session for in substitute for the spring conference. So there we certainly, and we also had Kenzie, who was calling in from Norway. So the connection wasn't great, but we still had an international presence on Zoom, which is pretty awesome. So it definitely provides a lot more access, to everybody.
Something to think about.
Yeah. And I do like the idea of like having sort of like a contingency plans as well. What are we looking at? That's why Ghost Ranch is, we all want to go there. The likelihood of anything happening there is slim to none, and I don't think it should be, because we don't need to endanger ourselves or other people for that matter, to go down there and do it. We can do it next year. God willing. So, we'll, I think we should.
Question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's kind of a little bit off track, but it's on the technology. Either you or Michael can help. On my picture, and when I first came in, I'm iPhone. That's my identity. Whereas you have your name, so is David. And I got a line down here I can't read, but for applied anthropology is Michael. I'm on my iPhone, is this something I could do on my computer? Because I'm not familiar with Zoom on my computer or not. So I thought it was a phone thing.
No, you can do it on your computer. In fact, I'm on my computer right now doing it.
I'm figuring you and David are.
Yeah. So both of
Okay.
those options. If you want to do it by iPhone, you certainly can. I recommend using computer because it's,
Right.
you
No
know,
problem.
yeah.
I wasn't sure, and so I went to the phone and used it because I didn't know that I could do the other one. That's why you see the shape of my screen and I have iPhone and not my name on the computer. So I just wanted to verify because next time I'll do better.
Well, one of the things that we might also consider doing, and Ted, I think you brought up something really important, is that perhaps we should send out instructions to our members and say, okay, this is how we're doing it. You know, this is some of the steps that you should take to log on via your computer. You add your name in, you know, so on and so forth. I think that might be a really good thing to consider as we're preparing to do this in the future.
Yeah, for a few of us anyway, that might be helpful. I didn't think about that, but yeah. It's like I can also ask you on my own, but putting that out there, it might be helpful just to let people know in case. So yeah,
well,
I appreciate that.
I know one of the last times, and I don't mean to pick on Howard about this, but I think we had a planning session, you know, before the pandemic hit, and it took us 40 minutes to get Howard set on doing Zoom.
Oh.
So
that's why we're going to need breaks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sessions.
Yeah. And yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, David. I think that allowing time to get people to set up and sharing screens so that if they're presenting and they also want to present their PowerPoint or whatever, you know, we can set it up so that they can, you know, share their information. We can go back and forth between their presentation and their faces and all of that stuff. So yeah, I think that's a great thing to consider. You know, what we're going to be looking at, and I think that, you know, maybe we should just go ahead and make a decision and say that this is the direction that we're going to be moving in.
I would.
Yeah.
That's why I was seconding Peter's concept, because it's like, okay, make a decision, and then start working out the details.
Yeah.
So at least you get an idea it's going to happen, and it's going to be virtual, and let's just kind of go with that and see what else other issues there are to play with.
Max, David, Michael, what do you guys think?
Yeah. Good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
I say you do it.
Yeah. No, I think it's good, and I also think that maybe, I mean, this is like logistical stuff, but we should do like segments throughout the day and have like breaks between, like, you know, not just have like a consistent thing where you just have to sit for, you know, 8 straight hours, but say, okay, at 11 p.m. Joe presents. So from 11 to 11:30 he presents, and then a half hour for questions, and then you have, okay, the next presentation's 1 p.m. That kind of stuff.
Sure.
You know, so give like a half hour, an hour between, and you know. And obviously, if we have enough people to do multiple days, we can. But I think that'll also be better for YouTube rather than having a 9-hour-long live stream presentation. It'll be more digestible. People will probably be more willing to watch them over time on the High Plains channel if they're just only in a half hour, an hour, or something like that, you know, versus
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
endless things. So.
Yeah, Michael, I think that's a great point. You know, breaking things up, also allowing us to, you know, live stream the events and break them into digestible sizes, you know, is a very good point. So, okay, I think we're all in agreement, and then we'll also post this to the rest of the board. But I think that everyone's going to be agreeable to this as an option, that we'll go ahead and just go with the virtual conference. One of the other things that I think that we might also consider, and this has to do with some of the money that we might gain in, is making possibly like a donation to Ghost Ranch. You know, we've consistently been going down there for like the last 20 years. maybe we throw them a bone, even though we can't be there. We still want to support them as an entity. You know, we're not going to be gaining a lot of money from this, so I can't imagine there being a large donation, but hey, something might help, and, you know, just to show our support for them, especially in a time of need like this. Just an idea.
I'm just thinking if you ask for $10, you could acknowledge that $5 goes to High Plains and $5 goes to Ghost Ranch. It's a small amount, and again, you're kind of showing your you're showing your support. And I think Ghost Ranch gets PR, and they appreciate it, and it also keeps us in league and in touch with Ghost Ranch for our sentiments and how we feel about them. And minimal money as it is, it still is an effort, and I think they probably would appreciate that. So, again, $10 isn't all that much. Split it 50-50. Make it easy on everybody's head, number-wise, and, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just an idea to, you know, to keep on playing with what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and certainly something that we can figure out how that would work, and we'll propose that for the next planning meeting or board meeting. We'll start nailing out some of those details. I've been in communication with San Diego and Peter, and one of the things that also came up, and this is kind of moving off subject, because I think that we've pretty much figured out that we're going to be doing this as a venue. So I wanted to bring up something else. One of the things that we decided on doing with the applied anthropologist is that we're going to print out a number of hard copies and then hand them out at the SFAAs for this past year. Of course, the SFAAs were canceled due to the pandemic, but we had intended on taking some of these hard copies down there and distributing them to folks down at that conference to kind of garner interest for High Plains. You know, we've gone pretty much to all virtual books, so all of our publications are now on PDFs. Right, we're no longer printing hard copies and giving them to our members or selling them or doing anything like that. What I'm suggesting, and I know Peter was a big fan of this, was to print out a small number of hard copies that we can take to events, you know, when pandemic ends, or as a something that we can also possibly sell at some of our even virtual events to gain, you know, because I know some of us would like to have hard copies, you know, to put on our bookshelves and to be able to take out whenever we want and not just have an online copy. So I wanted to throw that out there, see what you folks thought about doing something like that as well.
I agree with that, and that's similar to what Michael was saying, and I brought that up too in the past. Is like, you know, with the tickets, it's a good time to do it as just like a package, like deluxe package ticket. You get your journal and your registration, and I mean, I would pay for that just because I think it's cool to have the paper version of the journal, and I think a lot of people would probably just, oh yeah, we can add on this journal for. That's what Michael was saying earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that would fit in very nicely to what Michael was saying, you know, and offer that as an option. And I think one of the things that we'll have to investigate, and I'll ask Peter what the specific cost per, you know, per hard copy is. And of course, you know, it goes down the more that we print. You know, but we might only need to print, you know, a couple dozen copies to be able to go out, you know, and then to individuals. So it might not be bad. So we, you know, put the cost of printing into that, along with a little bit of extra to go to the society to help our coffers. So.
just make sure it's cost effective is the basic issue.
Yeah, yeah. As long as it's cost effective and there's interest, you know, and I believe that Peter can print these out at will. So, you know, maybe we get in a number of orders and say, okay, well, we need to print out, you know, 15 copies because we have people that are interested in doing it. Then we have a better idea of how much that is actually going to cost. So, you know, we can figure all of that out and then offer that as an option for you know, future events and you know, and help us also, you know, present the journal to other societies, and maybe that's something that we figure out a way to do as attendees to like the SFAAs or, you know, any other conferences that we might attend as individuals.
Joe, you were saying that Peter indicated, or Peter can print at will.
Yeah, I believe so.
That sounds like print on demand. I'm not sure if that's the same thing, what you meant or not.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my interpretation of one of the conversations I had with him recently, is that he can print out those editions and do it fairly cost effectively. I don't know the cost itself, so that's something that we would have to investigate. But yeah, that's something that Peter can do.
Okay.
So at least I believe so. So yeah, that's an option.
Right. Well, I was just thinking, print on demand means usually it's only one price, and no matter how many copies you do, it's the same price for each piece that you publish. So I was just kind of curious about that. It's just, we can check that out later on, but the idea sounds fine.
Okay. Yeah. David, Michael, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board.
We're gonna have to slip out of here in a minute when my phone rings. I'm expecting a call around 11. So.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting to that time anyway, and I think for the most part, I think we've discussed all the things that, you know, I had kind of thought that we needed to go over as far as, you know, both doing a virtual conference and also talking about, you know, making hard copies of the Applied Anthropologist. I think we're all in agreement that the virtual conference is going to go forward. And that way we can go ahead and start working on how that's going to look and what sort of technical issues we might come up and face, and how we can start planning and organizing for contingency issues, you know, things that we might see happening in the future, whether or not it's, you know, poor internet, or if we have people pre-record their presentations and then we can live broadcast and they can answer questions while the presentation is going on as a backup, or even as a one of the forms of doing the conference, whether or not it has to be live, because we can still stream it live, we can still have a live interaction, but we might have people that live in an area or they don't have access to high-speed internet. So they have to record and then send it to us, and then we play it and go that way. So, you know, there might be multiple ways of doing this, and I think that's going to be part of maybe our future communications, is, you know, discussing various ways of solving these problems, because
I think basically trying to keep it as simple as possible right now, just because it's a new thing for everybody, probably, at least for me.
Yeah.
And so again, kind of keeping it fairly simple, structure, all the other ways that we got to deal with.
Yeah.
So you know better about the technology part, but again, keeping it short, you know, keep it short and simple.
It
might be the way to go for the first time, and you know, get bigger after that.
I have a creative idea, and I think this is an idea that Howard would probably appreciate. So if one of you tech guys, and I'm talking to Joe and Michael, if one of you tech savvy guys can find a way to get a image from Ghost Ranch that can be put under the background between conference presentations, or even, somehow, that would be a nice touch, because we all wish we were there, and I know Howard absolutely wishes he was there. So it would be really cool to have a little Ghost Ranch background,
I think we not only do that, David, but I think we also do. So we have the picture in the background, and in the corner, we can have this up because we'll have different YouTube and Zoom times and all that stuff, and we can make several versions of this and have the next scheduled presentation, the title, and the time, like on the bottom corner of that picture, so you see, okay, well, this presentation is going, and then we can use various pictures of Ghost Ranch to kind of.
And I got tons of pictures. If you guys want. I'm sure you can.
I was thinking we have our pictures too of past experiences.
Oh yeah.
That we might be able to play around with,
Yeah.
I think.
I can send you what I got. I got tons.
Yeah, David. I think that's a brilliant idea. I think that, and that it's also a very easy thing to do, because of the software that I'm using to broadcast, allows me to put in extra pictures or stuff in corners, whatever, so that we can definitely put in a Ghost Ranch icon in there. We can switch between different views, so that if we're doing this and then the conference, the presentation ends, it isn't just screen. Maybe we have while people are setting up, we have a slideshow of Ghost Ranch going on in the background. I think that's a brilliant idea, and very easily accomplished. So
sounds good.
Yeah, and so maybe that's something that we have some of us do, is collect some of those photos. So David, you and Ted both send in a bunch of your photos, and we can put together that slideshow, and we can even add more into it if we want to get more complicated. We could say, here's a slideshow, but then include an audio track, and tell about your own personal experiences about Ghost Ranch.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, I know, Ted. I'm seeing pie in the sky here. I get it.
Access. We could do that kind of stuff as extra access. Here's an old talk on this topic from a past conference. And here, like, for an additional donation, you can have access to these kind of things. That could be something we could do there too. Instead of, if we're going to do all this extra work for it, I think we probably should also use that for the benefit of the society.
Yeah, good point.
To monetize that. So.
No, I think you're right, Michael, and Ted. I also think keeping it simple is a very good thing, especially and on our end as well, as far as the tech goes. The more stuff that we have going, the more likely something is going to fail. So making sure that things go smoothly and work appropriately is definitely a really good thing to do. We want to keep things simple, but I think adding in but during some of the presentations and stuff, or in between presentations, we can definitely toss in some extra stuff, or have some small recordings that would work. And Michael, I think that monetizing that is certainly a possibility. Again, something that we can discuss at another time as well.
Do we have a Google Drive or a Dropbox for the society that we can put all this stuff into?
I don't think so.
I mean, I have a 2 terabyte Google Drive that has like a terabyte free still, so I'm happy to volunteer some of my space, and then I can make it. Anyone who wants to add, has the link, can add to it or whatever, and I'm happy to host that space as long as needed.
Okay.
If down the line I needed to, it'd be super easy to transfer that stuff to someone else's Google Drive if it was needed later on. So I can set that up, and I can send out a link over link online to everyone's emails and stuff. And then if you want to add pictures from the past or anything else you think would be useful, audio recordings, whatever you guys have, we could just drop them in there, and then we have a place to kind of archive all that stuff. And like I said, I have like a terabyte. I doubt any of us will have a terabyte worth of stuff. Although I don't know, maybe me and you, Joe.
Yeah, I know. I've got oodles. But no, I think Michael, I think that's a great idea, and I very much appreciate your offer, and I think we'll take you up on it. That way, we have a local location that we can throw together a slideshow and do that kind of stuff, and maybe also record a few people just maybe talking about their remembrances of Ghost Ranch, or we can record Howard telling poetry, something that might be
and then we can
interesting.
We can keep that as a host space for when we do the conferences for people who pre-recorded and stuff. We could have them there. So if let's say something happens and me or you suddenly are out of the game for the conference, then at least everyone knows where that drive is. They can scramble together to kind of like, okay, well, Michael suddenly isn't around, or Joe isn't suddenly around. Here's all this stuff. We don't even, we can kind of even set it up, me and you, in advance to have so it can basically function. All we have to do is moderate.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and also I think that's a really good idea, Michael. And one of the things that we might consider doing is, because I'm using OBS as OBS is an online broadcasting system. Basically, it's what's allowing me to broadcast to YouTube. I don't know, Michael, if you've got any.
I got that one too.
Do you? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah, I was using that for live streaming in the spring for my classes because Blackboard is shit, so I was using that instead on YouTube to live stream my stuff. So.
Nice. Well, that's perfect then.
I'm gonna have to get going, guys, because I got a neighbor who needs help going to the hospital about 11:30, so I gotta head out.
Okay. Hey, Ted, thank you so much for your ideas and coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate it and helping me out, learn and understand a few things. So I appreciate that a lot.
No?
Thanks.
Good to see you, Ted. Glad you're well.
See you, Ted.
Cheers. Right. You too. Bye.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Have a good one.
All right. How do I do this? How do I get out of this damn thing?
Once you're in for good.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
There is no leaving the high plains once you're in.
I'm afraid of that. No kidding.
I gotta go too, guys. I got some friends coming in from out of town, from St. Louis, and they're stop there. They go. Here's the call now. I gotta take this. I'm gonna get out of here because I need to talk to them.
Have a good one, David.
All right. See you, David. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, Ted, I'm going to take your phone out. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Max.
There you go, Max. Kick them out.
Yeah, you're on top of it. Okay. So between you two, it sounds like we've got, a lot of really good ideas about how we're going to be moving forward, and other things, do you guys have any other issues that you want to bring up or any other ideas about this?
I don't think so. I actually think that the live streaming is kind of awesome. Like, I love the in-person stuff too, but I think we have the potential to attract a lot of people. I have something like 1,200 or 1,500 followers of my YouTube channel. I can easily post out a thing and direct them towards the High Plains stuff. Plus, I have a Facebook page that has like 800 people who are all over the world. So I think there's a lot of potential for big outreach, and I think this is like moving the High Plains into the 21st century. I think is kind of like our task as like this incoming group, and I think in the future, when we can finally get back to doing things like Ghost Ranch, I think we should always have a live stream component for people to interact, and maybe even have someone who's maybe not a board member, but someone who is tasked with specifically running the technology as kind of either an elected position or a volunteer position or something like that, because I do think you need like a technical director in the long term, because right now, me and you, Joe, we're perfectly fine with handling all this stuff. But what happens if you get a president in the future who is like, or a board of a teacher that is not as technology savvy? So maybe having like a person who can can do that kind of technical support in the long term, you know, might be a really good idea to think about.
Michael, I think you've got a really good idea there, and maybe that is definitely not only just for future conferences we continue to have like a live component, you know, that we can broadcast to YouTube and record and do all of that stuff. I think that is going to be imperative for what we're going to look for in the future. But I think also having maybe a technical position on the board might be a good idea, because we might need someone. And I think in a way we sort of have a position already, you know, with sort of like the webmaster is sort of that technical position. But I think broadening that to like the media outreach, you know, maybe we create a position specifically for like media outreach or, you know, whatever, and have someone on that position. So I think that might be a good idea. So Max, what do you think?
About having somebody who has more of the technical knowledge? I think that's good. Or just making sure we are all up on all that stuff. I think it just takes a little bit of messing around with, and, you know, showing each other how to. I mean, it's not that hard to do a lot of this, but, you know, you got to show each other how to, you know, use the different functions. Like, I hadn't used a lot of the things on Zoom, and there's still a lot of things on Zoom that I don't know how to do, and technologies. So I think we just got to train each other on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think having someone who's specifically assigned to that is a good idea, because, you know, one of the things, and I've seen it with all of us, you know, it's no one specific person's fault or anything, but I see a lot of, okay, well, who's going to do this thing with the high planes, right? And then we have to figure out, okay, who's going to do it, and is it going to fall through? Where I think it's just kind of good structure-wise in the long term to have that particular position delegated. And then if that person obviously needs additional help, they can do that. But I don't think maybe it's as it is, we're obviously struggling to fill our board. But like, you know, it's just I think they perhaps another position to think about. And I think, you know, now you know, obviously the pandemic, we've kind of kick-started this whole digital revolution maybe in a way that wasn't going to happen really for another decade. I think is now kind of like, you know, hyperspace move towards that kind of technology. And so I think maybe just to stay in the game, or maybe even get ahead of the game from, you know, SFAA or AAA, you know, if we could do this right, we could potentially, be much more competitive with them in the long term.
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I think that's really cool. Yeah, definitely. And Max, you're absolutely right. I think certainly with this last event, which, you know, went belly up, having that technical redundancy is definitely something that we need to have. And, you know, and you're absolutely right. This isn't hard to run. You know, it's not difficult. We just need to make sure that we have more people that can step in, and that's just going to be part of, I think, training. And I think, you know, again, having somebody dedicated to having that role might be a really good option. And instead of, you know, working with, you know, I don't know, not knowing for sure, having someone, you know, this is their purpose, you know, to do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. But then also, you know, having everybody trained up on just in case that person can't do it. So, and that's why I think, Michael, you and I, especially going forward with this, with the fall conference, making sure that we're both set up to do a live broadcast through OBS to the website, to YouTube, so that, you know, if I lose power and I'm broadcasting, then you can go ahead and just start streaming and just pick up the pieces, you know. So, and I think that's a redundancy that we need to have, and we don't want dead air, so both of us being ready
And
to.
I also think that maybe what we can do, Joe, is so the burden doesn't fall on any one person, is we can have at least me and you switch off, right? So switch off running or moderating, and we can have additional people besides us as well if we really want to. It obviously depends if it ends up, we get tons of people who want to present, then we have to do a multi-day affair. Then yeah, we can recruit others. But if it's just one day, me and you can switch off in the moderation duties, so neither of us are feeling overburdened or obviously I've got kids around all the time too, so it's okay, I know this hour, and I can do it, and then I just listen in on the other teams,
Well, I think it'll probably come down to you and I hosting. So getting everybody organized and introducing people and and doing all of that kind of stuff. I think we're going to need a dedicated moderator that'll allow us to say, be able to look at YouTube and say, this is what's happening. This is, this person has got a question. This person is doing this. This is some technical issues we might be dealing with, and so that they can also control the Zoom. The focus. So, we could do a whole, panel view, or we can focus and pin the virtual camera on one particular person while they're speaking, so that we don't have people just popping up, whenever they make a noise or a movement. So, we have someone that's dedicated to running the Zoom meeting and answering questions, online. Which would free us up.
You mean like Max?
Yeah, Max. If Max wanted the job, he could have it. So I don't know if that's something that you would be interested in doing and working as the moderator.
But also, I think we should have I think we should have two people moderate too, for the same reason. We don't want to overburden one person, but also for backup purposes if something happens,
Yeah.
So redundancy. So let's say I'm not saying you have to do it, Max, but let's say Max does it, and then maybe me or you, Joe, could be a backup moderator kind of thing, or literally David or anybody else. Although I don't think David would be very good.
Yeah, I don't know if I want David moderating. So.
Well, at least we agree on that.
I don't mind as long as, I mean, I don't know that much about all this. I learned it because I had to do it one day because San Diego couldn't do it, and then I learned how to do it. But I'm fine. I'm fine doing any of that or learning more about how to do any of that stuff. It's no problem.
Okay. Well, Max, if you're willing to do it, because this is a learning experience for us all. We can all work together and practice going through Zoom and doing, this is how we'd like things to look. These are the different tools that we might have available, that kind of stuff. And then what moderating might look like, popping in every once in a while and saying, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of a presentation, and we'd say, okay, have we heard any questions from YouTube? And that's when, Max, you would pop up and say, hey, we've got a question from such and such, and this is what they want to know. So that would help us. You would be like a moderator / producer, as far as how we can sort of manage between the different platforms. And that's definitely something that we would have to practice, to get it down so that it's organized, it's consistent, it's polished, and I don't think it's going to be hard to accomplish that.
Yeah, no, I just a little bit of training goes a long way with stuff like that. I think I had a half hour of training before I ever went a live stream cam.
Yeah.
First time, so it's and I'm at a major sporting event, so it's it really doesn't take a lot. It's just a little bit of training goes a long way. So, and obviously, Max, if you wanted to step in, you're obviously not going to be on your own. We're gonna be all doing this.
Oh yeah,
You know, really, it's going to be a team of about 4 to 6 people probably to pull the conference off, working the whole time to make sure all the technology and stuff goes well. So.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Cool.
All right, well, I got to get going, so can we maybe